Alrighty, morning everyone. Welcome to our next instalment of our online training. Great to have you involved with us this morning. This morning's topic, we're going to talk about generating more offers prior to auction. Quite a topical one at the moment. I presented actually yesterday at the Resi conference in Brisbane, and we spoke a lot about this, about the power of offers in the current marketplace, and why it's so important to make sure that we really harness our dialogue to getting those offers out of people who not just love the property, but people who may be sitting on the fence for it, and how powerful the offers are. With the current feeling with the buyers not really wanting to commit, not really wanting to act too over the top. But before we start, I've got a couple of shout outs we're going to do today. Firstly, you'll notice there's someone else in the screen with me. I've got Jamie Thomas here, who's joined us recently from Cooley Auctions in Sydney. Jamie has lowered our average age, which is exciting, and also a pretty sharp looking rooster too, so making sure we all stay on top of things. But Jamie, I'd love to very briefly hear about your background. We start.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on board. You've got quite a welcoming team. I initially started in real estate in 2012. I naturally started off in property management, as most people do in real estate. I stuck to the director like a bad smell and followed him everywhere he went. Funnily enough, he was an auctioneer. For about 2.5 years, I kept asking them to put me into sales, and they said, "Look, mate, you look like you're a bit too young." So they put me into, I called one auction with them, and then diverted from them to Cooley Auctions, and my career went gangbusters from there slightly.
And you've seen the light, you've come to the beautiful weather. Looking outside, it's probably a nice sort of mild 19 or 20 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. What made you move up to Queensland?
I came here for Eric and sat down and watched the auction comp. My best friend moved up here at the same time, and he gave him a phone call about 2 or 3 weeks later. It was pouring down rain at Bondi Beach, and he said, "Mate, I'm getting a suntan while what are you doing?" So made a really easy decision for me.
We'll just keep it quiet. We don't want too many Sydney Islanders coming up here and sharing our limelight. Well, Jamie's going to be working predominantly through Brisbane, also up on the Sunshine Coast, where he's recently moved to. So we're very excited to have Jamie as part of our team. And Jamie's going to help us out with some role play today as well. So thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers. So we're going to talk today about, like I said, generating offers. And we were talking yesterday at this conference about the importance at the moment of those offers just being the things that we need to actually adjust our sellers' expectations. Sellers on average at the moment, the data that we've got in 2018 is starting 8.3% above the market. So it is taking a fair bit of work to actually get them to understand and realise that where their property sits in the marketplace is actually different to where their initial expectations are. And really, we were focusing yesterday on the fact that saleable listings, not only are they great to make sales, but they're also at the moment your best avenue and your best tool to generate your next listing. And that's obviously what we're here to do. We're here to list and sell property. So anything we can do to generate a next listing is going to be a good thing. So getting a listing saleable and making those phone calls, having those vendor conversations regularly are ultra important. And if there's one piece of dialogue I think at the moment that we really need to be spending time and energy on, it is our ability to generate offers prior to auction in this sense, but just ability to generate offers in general if you take it outside of the auction world. But we're going to focus on auction today because we are Apollo Auctions. We're an auction-based company, so that's what we're here to talk about. So today's focus, as we mentioned, is all about that dialogue, about generating offers prior to auction. So a quick little statistical number before we start for those that are statistic-minded. So far in 2018, if you get no offers prior on your auctions, the clearance rate under the hammer is 11%. So 11% is the current clearance rate if you get no offers prior to auction. You get one offer prior to auction, the current clearance rate is 32%. You got 2 offers prior to auction, it's 68%. And if you get 3 or more offers prior to auction, the current clearance rate this year is 96%. So it's clearly not a coincidence, the fact that the more offers that you generate prior to auction, the better your chances of achieving the result which you want, which is generally a sale under the hammer. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I think in this marketplace, why that's so important. Number one is that it's the most true and honest and direct feedback that you can give your seller. And this is really crucial because there's so much noise and guff that goes along with it. For us to be able to provide unequivocal information to our seller is super important to make sure that they understand where their property sits in the marketplace in the eyes of those people that matter, who are the buyers. Because the issue that we have is that there's so many people with opinions about the value of the property. We have an opinion as agents, they have an opinion as owners, valuers have opinions. But in reality, the only people whose opinion or commitment level actually matters is eventually going to be that buyer. So for us to collect that information is important. But almost as important, if probably not more important at the moment, is the reason why offers are so important is because it actually commits your buyers. And this is the challenge we've got in the present landscape we have, is committing buyers is actually one of the biggest issues that we have. Buyers, when the market turns in their favour, they generally have two things. They have time on their side and they have choice on their side. Our job is to try and take those away from them and do what we can to get our seller the result within a timely manner. So getting offers prior on auctions are actually a way of committing the buyers, which is one of our really big challenges for us to do at the moment. So that's why that's so important. But before we go into the actual kind of meat and potatoes and the dialogue that we want to talk about, I want to go back a step at the listing presentation and say, how do we actually set this up with your seller? Because I'm a big believer that one of the things we need to explain to the seller is the process of how we're going to collect information from buyers and pass it on to them as the seller. But that needs to be done right at the start of your listing. If not at the listing presentation, then certainly at your strategy meeting after you just list the property. Because if you don't do it then, and you only introduce something down the line, or something happens down the line that you haven't explained of how it's going to take place, that can sometimes cause resentment. So I'm a big believer in when you list the property, you sit down and say, look, I just want to be really clear and transparent in the way that I'm actually going to collect information and provide it to you. Now, if you haven't picked up already, I'm a big fan of the word information. I don't like the word education. I don't like the word alignment. I like the word information because I think that's our fundamental role. So what we say to the seller is, look, I just want to be really clear on the information I'm going to be providing to you. There's going to be two types of information that I'm going to hear as the agent throughout a campaign. The first type is opinion-based. The second type is commitment-based. So opinion-based is anything along the lines of thoughts, feelings, what someone thinks a property is worth, what they think about the property, what they think it might potentially sell for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm going to report to you is what people will or won't pay for your home. I'm not going to report what people think, because what people think won't help you, and in fact, at times will actually mislead you. What will help you is actually what someone will front up and what they'll physically pay for your property. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm not going to deal with opinions. What I'm going to be dealing in almost exclusively to you is commitments. So that's my role here, is to try and collect as many of those as I can. So just something along those lines. Number one, this cuts out any danger you've ever got of being secret shopped. Because if you've explained the way that you're going to do it, then you're never going to have a problem with it. Number two, we're going to show in the dialogue a way that we actually work with neighbours to make sure we get the right information out of neighbours as well. Because by nature, neighbours are generally going to overinflate the price because they want to believe that their home is worth more at the same time also. But there's a couple of things you want to say to the seller. The first one is this: understand that some of the information that I get may be at levels that make you uncomfortable. But understand that if you're feeling uncomfortable, the buyers are feeling comfortable. And my job is to make the buyers feel comfortable first, then let's price become the issue after that. Second thing behind this is making sure that they understand that there's a couple of reasons why we actually sometimes need to go lower with the information levels we get. Number one, it is never where a buyer starts, it's only where a buyer finishes. And number two, for our auction campaign to run successfully, what we need people at all different levels. So we need our premium buyer here, but we also need them to feel competition from buyers at different levels below that. So what I'm hoping to do, if I can not get this person up to that level that you will find acceptable to sell the property, is they may well be our starting bidder at auction day anyway. And as every auctioneer knows, and I'm sure Jamie will back me up on this, every auctioneer knows that starting bidder is sometimes the hardest one to get. So we're gonna rip straight in. We're gonna talk about the dialogue now we're gonna use. I'm gonna get Jamie back up, and he's got a nice little red stool over here to sit on, because Jamie's going to be our buyer for the purpose of this, and I'm going to role play with Jamie to talk about how this actually works and how we're going to do it. But you notice in the questions that I asked Jamie, there's going to be 3 questions going to cycle him through. So I'll start with Jamie just being a usual buyer. So that's a usual buyer that's pretty apathetic towards the property. He may like it, he may not like it, but Jamie, I'm going to run you through a feedback call. So this is me calling Jamie after he's come through the property on a Monday. Ring, ring.
Jamie speaking.
Hi, Jamie. It's Justin here from Apollo Property. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Hey, thanks so much for coming through the property, 26 Smith Street on the weekend. Just wanted to get your thoughts.
What one was that one?
That was the one with the red letterbox. Hard to miss.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Oh, you like that one? Can you see yourself living there?
Oh, I'm only early days at the moment, but yeah.
Sure. What price do you think it's going to sell for, Jamie?
No, I don't know yet.
Okay. Now I'm just going to press pause on the phone call here for a second because I want to provide a bit of background information here that we understand. So we've got our Harrow home here. We think that it probably sits somewhere between 7 and 750. Somewhere inside of that there is probably the transaction level where we think it's going to sit. Unpause. Jamie, is there any price at all where you think this one could work for you?
I'm not sure. What do you think the owners will take?
Well, look, I actually haven't had that conversation with them yet. They haven't had any offers, so I'm not sure where their bottom line is. But their dialogue with me all the way throughout has been that they're committed to selling the property, if not on the 28th of July, then certainly before. So is there any price at all where you would like to test them out?
Not at this stage, no.
Okay. So let's say, for argument's sake, you could get it somewhere in the mid-6s. I'm not saying it's going to sell there, but maybe around the 650 or so. Would hold interest for you at that level?
Oh, yeah.
So you make an offer at 650?
Not today, but if you got an offer, let me know.
Okay. All right. So it doesn't hold interest for you to sort of break down the door and sign an offer at 650?
Potentially, yes.
Potentially. Okay, good. So what I'm going to exit here is the 3 questions I've asked Jamie. The first one is what price? The second question I should say is any price. The third question, which is probably the most critical one, is what I call the buyer excitement level price with a question mark. And you would have noticed that that is 10% below that figure. So 10% below that figure is the price where if it doesn't suit Jamie directly, it could still have some interest because it could be a property that potentially you might like at some point in the future. So those 3 questions are what price? So I fish for a price first, and I actually disguise this question by asking Jamie, well, what price do you think it's going to sell for? Hoping that he'll blurt a figure. And then if Jamie gives me a figure, I immediately capitalize on that and say, would you pay that for it? To establish, number one, is this just a price that Jamie's just blurting because he thinks that's what it's worth based on his research? Or is this a price that he would actually potentially pay? The second question, which then I fish for, is there any price at all where this one could be a starter for you? The third one is then the buyer excitement level price, because what I need out of this conversation is I need to exit with one of 2 things. Number 1, an offer. Number 2, the information I can take back to my seller out of the phone call I just had with Jamie was when pushed, Jamie wouldn't commit in the mid-6s, which is true. It's honest and it's direct, which are the 3 things that we need for our information to be going back to our seller to be. True, honest, and direct. So I've managed to exit that conversation, even though Jamie gave me very little. With what I needed was Jamie came through the property when pushed. He wouldn't pay in the mid-6s. So the only 2 outcomes I was going to get out of that phone call was an offer or a wouldn't pay figure. Now, at some stage through this process, if Jamie wants to make an offer, clearly I'm going to facilitate that and take that and take it forward to my seller. Matt LaHood, who spoke yesterday at Resi as well, had a really nice line that I liked at the end where he said, if someone's coming through a property a number of times and you keep calling them for feedback after and it seems to be stuck in this ever cycle, he said to ask him the question, are you interested in the property or are you interested in owning the property? And I thought that was quite clever because there's a difference between being interested in a property and interested in owning a property, and that's what we want to try and get to. So this is the dialogue that we've used here. Now, this dialogue shouldn't really change irrespective of who Jamie is, whether he's a neighbour, whether he's a friend, whether he's a buyer, a serious buyer, whether he was just seeking some shelter from a storm, because everyone can give you the same information, and that is what they will pay or what they won't pay for the property. So, Jamie, we're going to run through this scenario again. This time I want you to be a neighbour. Okay. So be a traditional neighbour and talk it up like a neighbour would, and let's go through that dialogue. Ring, ring.
Hi, Jamie speaking.
Hi, Jamie. It's Justin here from Apollo Property Group. How are you?
Yeah, really well. Yourself?
Yeah, mate, very well. Thank you for walking down the road last week to the open home at number 26. Good to see you there. What were your thoughts?
Mate, it's nice. Not as good as mine, but it's really nice.
What do you think it's going to sell for, Jamie?
Oh, surely in the 800s.
Would you pay that for it?
No. Look, I don't really know what the market's worth at the moment, but, you know.
But you know it's not as good as yours, right?
No, not as good as mine.
Yeah. Is there any price at all, Jamie, where this one could be a starter? It'd be good to have a good investment property in the same street.
It'd be great. We'll see the tenants.
Yeah.
Look, I don't really know. I haven't had that close of an eye on the market, but the better price you get, the better my place is worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
No
so for argument's sake, look, you mentioned you might have thought it was in the 8s. If this one was going in, say, even the mid-6s, I'm not saying it's going to sell there, but surely that'd be really good value. Wouldn't hold an interest for you at that level?
No, not particularly. I just wanted to see what it was worth compared to mine.
Brilliant. Mate, thank you so much for coming through. Really appreciate it. We'll keep you updated as soon as we have some new neighbours for you.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Excellent. So you see the dialogue actually didn't really change. So I've given a couple of acknowledgements to know that you are a neighbour, so I'm not going to try and pretend like you're not. But I'm not going to change from the fact that neighbours can still buy properties anyway. So why not still take them down that path? And that last dialogue is Jamie actually set it up for me to say, well, you think it's in the 8s. If you can get in the mid-6s, I'm not saying you can, but if you could get it there, surely that would be a great buy. But the information that I can exit with again is to take to my seller and say that Jamie came through your property on the weekend. When pushed, he wouldn't pay in the mid-6s. Now, if we don't go down this path and we go down the path of just asking what people think it's worth and reporting that to our seller, I'm left with a really difficult situation here because I've got to do one of two things. Number one, I've got to lie and say that Jamie didn't give me a figure. Or number two, I tell my seller all of a sudden that Jamie thinks their property is worth in the 8s. They go, well, hang on, well, our property is better than their property. And therefore that then increases their price up and over and beyond. So this shouldn't change no matter who comes through your properties. This structure that you have, these 3 simple questions, should be followed really closely. What price? Any price? Buyer excitement level price. Now, you'll notice that I'm not getting too caught up in what Jamie thinks and feels about the property. The reason for that is that quite often it's not actually, if Jamie says the 4th bedroom is too small, it's not actually the 4th bedroom being too small that's the issue for Jamie. Generally, it's the fact that the price, what he thinks he's going to have to pay, is too much, bearing in mind that he thinks the 4th bedroom is too small. So this generally comes back to price, not back to features. So in terms of the report back to the sellers, we get this question a lot, is I wouldn't recommend that you put individual thoughts about the property, 4th bedroom too small, garden needs a bit of upkeep, didn't like the outlook from the 3rd bedroom, things like that. I wouldn't assign them to individual people. What I would just say is on the start of the information report, here are the positives that people have liked, here are the negatives that people haven't liked. Don't assign it to individual people, because if you assign it to individual people, what you offer your seller is a chance to disregard the information. So if Jamie comes through the property and I'd say Jamie wouldn't commit on your property in the mid-6s, Jamie also didn't like the size of the 4th bedroom and he felt the yard was too small, the seller's going to go, well, hang on, we don't think the 4th bedroom's too small. We think the yard's just fine. Therefore, Jamie's information is irrelevant because he's not the buyer for the property, so we're going to disregard him. So we just don't give him a chance to do that. So just make sure the information is straight down the line and doesn't give an opportunity to make those 2 marriages together. Here's a real Jamie. I'll see if you can solve it for us. Who is every seller's dream buyer? I put Jamie on the spot here. I clearly gave him no lead up to this.
Well, from auction terms, the person who hasn't seen it turns up and bids on the day.
Correct. But think about it in real terms. When the seller describes a buyer to you, who are they describing?
Themselves.
Hey, got it. There we go. So the riddle is that every seller's dream buyer is themselves. So what they do is when they describe things about the buyer to you, they're actually describing, chances are, themselves, because they fell in love with the property. Therefore, the buyer will fall in love with the property and they will represent themselves. So what we just do is don't give them a chance to disengage themselves away from the buyer. Just report the information, the facts directly to them. So this dialogue shouldn't change. So I'm going to go through this process and I'm going to try and get an offer out of Jamie. Hopefully Jamie obliges this time and gives me an offer. Fingers crossed. No pressure, mate, or else that'll be your first written warning if you don't. But we're going to try and get an offer out of Jamie because I want us then to walk through the process of how that offer actually goes through to our seller and comes back to Jamie at that present point in time. So I'm just going to make this board clear so we can do a bit of scrolling here. Ring.
Hi, Jamie speaking.
Hi, Jamie. Justin here from Apollo Property Group. How are you?
Yeah, really well. Yourself?
Mate, very well. Hey, thanks so much for coming through the property number 26 Smith Street last weekend. Want to get your thoughts?
I really like that place.
Yeah, could you see yourself living there?
Yeah, with my wife and kids too.
Excellent. What price do you think it's going to sell for, Jamie?
I reckon low 6s.
Okay. Would you make an offer there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. When can we get you in the office to get you signed up?
Oh, man, I'm stuck to work till 5. I'll be at 6 o'clock.
Beautiful. Let's lock it in. I'll get all the paperwork drawn up. If you can send me an email in the next couple of hours with your details, I'll get the pro forma of the contract all done up, and then we just come in and sign it and explain it, and then you're away.
Yeah, I'll just make a call to my wife and let her know that we'll do that. So
Probably a wise move, definitely. Yep. Is she going on the contract?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to get her in as well.
All right.
Good. Well done. So Jamie's very, very graciously agreed to give me an offer there in the low 6s.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun exercise for me. So what we have here, and this is a really philosophical option explanation, I think, is what we have here in the middle is what we call market value. So this is this magic space of market value where which is the transaction level, where we want to get our seller and our buyer to meet in there at the same point. So what we're actually doing with an auction is we're building ourselves enough time to have our seller who starts up here and our buyer who starts down here to meet in here at the same time. And philosophically, forgetting everything about crowds, registered bidders, everything to do with auction, this is what auction is. So auction is a time-holding mechanism that allows you to time getting your seller and your buyer to meet in the same position at the same time. That's how auction fundamentally exists. Because the flaw we sometimes have is we list a property, the seller's overpriced, the buyers are actually probably pretty close to market value because they might have missed out another one beforehand. They don't want to play the game. They want to buy the property today. They make an offer at market value. They come into this space. The seller's not in there to meet them. So they get rejected and they go elsewhere. So what I want to do with Jamie is I don't want Jamie to feel rejected. Because if I get Jamie's best right now and my seller is not ready to hear it yet, what will happen is Jamie will enter this space and then Jamie will leave. And then I won't see Jamie again. Because why would he? He's been rejected by the seller, so what's the incentive for him to stick around? So what I actually want to do in most cases with your prior auction offers is you want to get them at pretty conservative levels because chances are your seller's not ready to hear the best offer yet. And you've got to protect them from that. So a really good question to use sometimes, and if someone's making the right noise about making an offer and you think your seller's still above the market, is to say to the buyer, well, Jamie, what price would you like to start negotiations with the seller at? So what price would you like to start negotiations with the seller at? Not what's your biggest and best, give it one go. What price would you like to start negotiations at? Because you want to build a little bit of insurance behind yourself that you can hope potentially get that little bit more when your seller's ready to hear it. So Jamie's coming to the office and he signed my contract at what?
620.
620. Jesus. So I'm going to take this across to my seller, which is not going to be well received. And on a side note, this is why I think that private sales don't work very often. Because I think what you tend to find is Jamie will make the offer of 620. I'll take it to the seller. The seller will tell Jamie to go and get effed. Tell him to go and search somewhere else for property. Don't insult me like this. And I'll go back to Jamie and I'll say, oh, Jamie, the seller said to say, thank you so much for your offer. They really gave it some strong consideration. Not quite enough to get it across the line at this point in time. And Jamie will say, oh, the sellers are greedy. Don't they know it's a buyer's market at the moment? They should pull their heads in. I'll give them another 20, but that's it. And I'll go back to the seller and say, oh, the buyer really loves your home and they understand, they empathize with your position. They want to keep the negotiation alive. When you don't have an agent as the conduit between those two, you just get the two butt heads. And that's why selling properties privately is A, not a good idea, and B, really ever works. So I've got this offer of $620,000. I'm going to take it to my seller. My seller, unsurprisingly, has said that he's not going to accept that offer of 620, not now and probably not ever. So I'm going to go back to Jamie. I'm going to try and keep Jamie alive through to auction day. Hey, Jamie, Justin here. How are you?
Yeah, good yourself.
Yeah, mate, very well. Hey, I've had a chat to the seller about that offer. They said to say thank you very much. It certainly gave them something to discuss. Look, at this point, that offer is not enough to stop the auction. I would anticipate at 620, Jamie, you're probably going to have a little bit of competition. So a couple of moves you've got on your side now. Number one is you can make a higher offer if you like. But understanding, though, to buy properties prior to auction, you generally have to pay a premium. Mm-hmm. Reason being that not only are you going to buy the property, but you're also probably going to compensate the seller for the risk of it not actually going through to auction day.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Your second offer is get all your ducks in a row, come along on auction day, because the seller has built all their future plans around selling it on the 28th of July. So on that day, I think they're going to be at their absolute most flexible because they know their terms and their future plans are being satisfied. So I think they can be flexible to price, and that'll be your best chance to pick it up for a discount.
So I can buy a cheaper option?
Well, I don't know for sure, but I know from experience that's generally what happens because there's two things you're going to win on. Number one is the terms. Number two is the price. The seller knows they're winning on the terms at auction day, plus they've set the date for sale. Therefore, they can be at their most flexible on price.
Okay. And they said no to 620,000.
Yeah.
What should I come prepared to pay?
Look, like I said, I think at 620 you're going to have a bit of competition. I can send you some information on recent sales that can help you. The hard part for me to answer that is they actually haven't had that conversation about what their bottom line is yet because they probably don't know it yet either. They're very much in the mindset that 28th of July is when the property is going to be sold. So whatever's there on the day is probably going to be the figure that works for them. So I'd hate to tell you a figure that's going to misinform you. I'd rather work with you and get you in a position where you go to whatever level you're comfortable with. And if that's enough to skewer the home, then happy days for you.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Great. Excellent. So get them two alternatives here and make it clear that at 620 he's not going to buy the property. Because if I say, hey, Jamie, 620 wasn't enough today, but I tell you what, 28th of July, mate, you give me every chance. And then Jamie turns up, opening bid 650, and it sells for 750. It sells for 850, and then Jamie makes it out that I'm the worst human being in the world. That's not a good thing for future business. So what you want to say is you're going to have some competition at that level, but I know that on the 28th of July, the sellers are going to be at their most flexible, and that is true. The second true part is what I said to him, which is the sellers probably don't know what their bottom line is yet, because they don't. Until auction day, until they're signing a contract or until they're adjusting the reserve form, they actually don't know what they're prepared to sell the property for.
We did a little study. It could be slightly different up in Queensland, but in Sydney we had a reserve price and a take price of so the reserve was $1 million. Where would they, if push comes to shove on the auction floor, where would they sell it? And consistently in that marketplace, the owners were prepared to sell the home 3% less consistently below the reserve price. Yep. So if it was $1 million, they were happy to sell at $970,000. And
I'd say in Queensland it's probably even more than 3%. I reckon the adjustment levels we get on a daily basis or on an hourly basis on a Saturday are pretty significant. So it's one that, let's not buy into what the sellers say that they'll only accept, because they probably don't know what the reality of it is yet. So the different one to this is the one where Jamie makes a really high offer prior to auction. So let's say, for the argument's sake, that Jamie's actually made an offer of 780. This is the harder one because the buyer's probably entered this space and they're not going to loiter around in that space for very long. So Jamie's made his offer of 780 on this property that's potentially worth in the mid-7s. So he's right at market value, if not just slightly above it. And now the next position is actually, how do I keep Jamie interested and involved as well? So let's just tweak up the dialogue a little bit and have this conversation. So Jamie, the seller said to say thank you very much for their offer. When I sat down with them to have a chat, there were some things that came to light that I wasn't aware of previously. It does look like this one's got to go through to auction day. It might just be a situation where my sellers need a little bit more time, but it does look like this one does need to go through auction day. I would suggest at this point it's actually not about price as is about peace of mind.
Okay. Well, look, $780,000. I personally think it's good value.
And I don't disagree with you.
Mate, the last 3 auctions I've been to, I've just been getting smoked.
Sure.
So look, I don't want to go through the anxiety of the auction at $780,000. Can you just give me a call if it doesn't sell?
Well, look, I can. I think by doing that, though, you do run the risk of potentially going cheaper on the day and missing out, or at the level that you would pay. And I'd hate for me to call you on the Monday and say, hey, it's sold for this, and you would say, I would have paid that. So what I'd rather do is, if you don't mind, I'll open up some pretty open communication with you. So I'll be in touch with you a lot in the next week leading up to auction. I'll keep you abreast of every development that's going on. And I'll try and get you in a position where you feel a little more comfortable about bidding on the day. Because again, I think, like I said, I don't think it's about price at this point. I think it's about peace of mind of the seller. And I want to try and deliver them what they want, which is peace of mind, but I also want to deliver to you what you want, which is you inside this great property.
Is there many other parties interested at this stage?
Look, at this stage, there's a handful, but it does look like the majority of them are going to be in a situation where they're going to be post-auction. So if you can get to the point where you can bid under auction conditions, and your offer certainly was under auction conditions, so I don't see why that should even stop you, I think you're going to be in a really favourable spot because the sellers will be ready, I think, on that day to accept what comes along. It's just at this stage they just need a little bit more time.
Okay.
The other thing, Jamie, is, and I don't want to go into their circumstances too much, but their future plans are all built around them selling on the 28th of July. So for them to change that at this point would be quite difficult. They want to try and satisfy those future plans by selling on the 28th of July.
Yeah, okay. Look, I'll turn up on Saturday, but mate, 780, my wife said if I get 781, I'm going to do it by myself. So, that's my budget.
Happy wife, happy life, Jamie.
Yeah, well, I'm in the doghouse, so 780 is my limit.
Excellent. So the dialogue just changes a little bit slightly. It becomes more about give ourselves time and space, and then it's about my communication with Jamie. Our next session, which we'll give a plug to at the end is focusing on working with buyers. And the biggest message I'm going to try and get through in that session to talk about is that your communication with the buyers actually sends a message. So if I communicate with Jamie daily now after this phone call, the message I send to Jamie is, you are the best prospect to buy this property. If I leave Jamie alone for a week, what I say to Jamie is, you are not going to buy this property. I've got someone else who I think is a better prospect to buy this property. So don't underestimate how much your actual constant interaction with these buyers can actually help you, because it is important that we definitely do that. So that's kind of the dialogue that we work on focusing. So again, those three questions are: what price, any price, buyer excitement level, price. And that's how we should be reporting all the information back to our seller. So it's clear, it's unequivocal, but most of all, it's honest. And that's the really important piece behind our information, because if we start manipulating information here or changing information there, then we start to hit some struggles. Just a couple of vendor communication notes that I think, or that I firmly believe. Number one is communicating with every one of your vendors every single day. I think this is critical. And I don't necessarily mean calling them every day, but you should have some sort of communication with them every single day, especially with an auction campaign, because an auction campaign is really compressed. So you need to be communicating with them so much so they can actually then understand where their property sits in the marketplace. What you need to do is you need to remove yourself as a reason why they're not getting more money. Because if you don't, then you'll be the blockage. And in 89 days, they'll say, thank you very much. We've been getting a letter from some other real estate company every other week saying that we've got buyers. We're going to go with that other company. But thanks for your efforts. And you can keep the marketing bill, by the way. That's usually the way those conversations take place. So communicating with our vendors every day. A couple of tips around this that might help us. Number one is use the media to your advantage. So if you find a good article about what home prices your local area are doing, or vacancy rates, or anything that's going to be of relevance, cut it out, or even better, go online, find the link to the article online, BCC in all of your vendors, send them an email and say, hi, the buyers have been reading this and commenting on it. I think it's important that you read and understand it, and send it off to them. Number two is collating information as a team and showing your strength. So what you want to be getting on the end of the week or at the start of the week, depending on what flows better for your company, is the information of your company as a whole. So, for example, I saw that we had someone from Coolum Beach Real Estate on there. John, good to see you, John. Thanks for joining us. John from Coolum Beach Real Estate, what I'd be suggesting is saying, look, this week as a team, we've had 64 inspections through all of our properties. We've had 9 second inspections through our properties. We've had 6 offers presented, which have resulted in 3 properties selling. Because what that shows to sellers, it actually cuts out the argument straight away of nothing's selling in our marketplace. Nothing's moving. Well, actually, there is stuff moving. We've just got to make sure that it's your stuff that's moving, not the other stuff. The other things that you should be keeping your sellers in line with absolutely is the number of new listings entering the marketplace on any given week. Because if you can say to your sellers, look, to give you some background, last 2 weeks we've listed 2 properties and 3 properties. This week we've had 8 properties come to the market, and we're anticipating that number again next week. What that shows to the seller is to say your competition levels are about to increase. Therefore, we need to get something happening on your property right now. So little things like this can actually make our job easier to get our sellers to get into this space, which is our market value space, hopefully a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. So that's all that I wanted to cover off on today, primarily, unless there was any questions that anyone has in relation to any of our dialogues that we've had, or any other situations with offers or counter offers that you might like to put in there. Feel free to just type away in the chat box there. But a couple of quick plugs before we do go. Very proud of one of our team members, Mark McCabe, this week, who graduated or qualified, I should say, for the 2019 REIQ Ox Year of the Year final. Mark did a tremendous heat and was very impressive. Patrick Ivey, who represented our company as well, was very good also. Was narrowly unlucky to miss the final, but did a really good job also. So big props to you guys. You did an outstanding job this week. You should be very proud of yourself. Last little plug here, which I told Jamie I was going to do, is our book is now out. That is our Apollo Auctions, the Ultimate Auction Guide. So a lot of these scripts and dialogues that we have in here are actually contained inside of this book. So please feel free to hop online to our website, apolloauctions.com.au. You can order a hard copy of this. or a soft copy if you prefer things to be a little bit more digital these days. But all the goodness that we talk about in these training sessions can be contained inside of here. But guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Jamie, thanks for your guest starring appearance today. You might have earned a repeat gig for your performance today. But thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and good luck on the weekend. Cheers.